Okay, in this video we're going to look at the Faro shuffle, F-A-R-O, relative to this special sequence I've called the Bessie sequence, okay? And we may go ahead and also kind of view this as a summary video for many of the shuffles that we have shown you regarding Bessie sequences. Now we won't review all of them, otherwise you'll fall asleep. It'll just be too many. But we may review just a few of them together with this new shuffle that we haven't applied yet to a Bessie sequence called the Faro shuffle. Okay, so let's go ahead and just gather these cards up. We have a little packet of 4 that spells Faro and another packet of 4 that spells Faro there. Now we're going to scramble these cards quite a bit actually. So why don't we begin with the LR shuffle. Let me move these up here so you can see them. The LR shuffle with random stacking. Do you remember that one? We can also deal into 4 piles with random stacking. Now if you're here, you could dictate, okay, left to right, right to left, okay? We can even do this leapfrog. Remember that? So if you go from left to right, we can kind of do this sort of thing, and then you're free to choose right on left or left on right. That's fine. We can also deal down into 2 piles. Excuse me, 2 cards in each pile. Said that wrong. So that's another way to create a mixing procedure that really will scramble these cards quite a bit. I don't know if you remember the mange shuffle, like the over-under or under-over. This is where you push the first card over, then under, over, okay? Or we can do an under-over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Would you like to do any more of those? Another over-under? Okay, over, under, over, under, over, under, over. Very good. I don't know if you remember the even or odd up jogs. That's where you push forward either the even position cards or the odd with random stacking. Either one of those would be fine. Another wonderful shuffle that we've shown you is the Klondike shuffle. Do you remember that, where you take the top and bottom off as 1? We can even do the alternate Klondike. Do you remember that? We put out pairs. And we can even do a leapfrog kind of approach for the stacking here. Okay? And then what were some of the other ones that we showed you? Oh yeah, the Australian down under. Do you remember that one? Down, under, down, under, down, under, down, under, down, under, down, under, down, and the last one goes on top. Okay? Oh, there's 4 or 5 others, but I'm not sure if we should. I guess we could do a Bessie 1-1 or a Bessie 2-2. Which of those would you like? The Bessie 2-2? Okay. If you remember, this is where you take the top 2 and then the bottom 2. Top 2 and then the bottom 2. And then maybe we'll finish with the Charlier 1. Do you remember that? Where you push off the top card and then the bottom card goes on top. This top card goes on the bottom. Bottom down here goes on top. Top to bottom, bottom to top, top to bottom, bottom to top. Okay, let's just show you that we really have mixed these cards quite a bit. I'll just kind of put these out so you can just see how scrambled these crazy cards are. Okay, so, but today what we're looking at, of course, is the Faro shuffle, right? The Faro shuffle. So let's go ahead and apply either an in or an out Faro shuffle, as many as you would like. Okay, and then we'll finish our video here. Okay, so Faro shuffle, how does this work? Well, some people refer to it as a perfect shuffle. So how it works is you take half the cards, so maybe I'll take these, the top half, and then you have to perfectly interlace them. Now you have a choice. You can do a Faro in, and so how that will work is you start with this one below that one because it's a Faro in, because the top card here goes underneath into the top half of the packet. Okay, so technically this is a Faro in, so you just interlace them perfectly. And then a Faro out is where we go ahead, and I'm not even sure if I took the right half there. It actually doesn't matter too much, but maybe we'll do a Faro out this time. Okay, very good. Yeah, let's Faro out. Now, which of those two would you like us to do more of? One more Faro in? Okay. Well, let's make sure we do it correctly. Sorry about that. Maybe the first one wasn't. So Faro in. So I'm going to take the bottom. This is the bottom. So what that means is this top card technically has to go underneath that one. Okay. So you start by, underneath. So it needs to go underneath it. Sorry about that. Okay. I'm trying to follow the shuffle exactly. No shenanigans here. Would you like to do one more of those? Another in? Okay, well, this will give me a chance to do a better job here. Okay, so this is the top over here. So that card needs to go underneath this one. Okay, so we do that by starting lower on the right, okay? And then you just interlace them perfectly. Now with 8 cards, it's actually not too hard to do. You just have to kind of slow down and let the cards perfectly interlace. That's just great. Okay, now from here, we want to go ahead and I'm going to make a couple of choices here. So I'm going to decide kind of how to divide up these cards here. So maybe I'll put this one will be yours. There you go. That's for you. And then this one's for me. Okay, and I'm greedy, so maybe I get that one too. And then you get this one. See, maybe I'll take that one, and then I won't be as greedy. You can get the next 2, and then I think that gives me 4 and you 4. Make sure I didn't mess up there. Okay, so where has that brought us? Sorry, I'm turning the cards face up when I didn't mean to. Where has that brought us? Well, let's see what has happened here. I might turn the cards right side up there. Okay, there you go. That's kind of interesting. What do you have here? So you have an O and an R and an A and an F. That's interesting. So do you notice anything interesting about our respective piles? Oh, we don't have any repeats, letters. You know what that means? That means that my written prediction that I set aside over here on the table is actually true. I wrote down that we would separate the cards into 2 packets in which we would both be able to spell the name of the Faro shuffle. So F A R O. Same thing here. F A R O. How was I able to write a prediction that that would indeed happen? Just think back to all of the mixing that we did and key choices made by you with how we stacked those, which one goes on top, which one goes on bottom, how many of each of the shuffles to do. Should we do an under-over or an over-under for the manche? I mean, just rewind the video and you'll realize there were many, many, many free choices given to you as the spectator that nonetheless did not prevent us from accomplishing something that was predicted before the mixing even began. Wow, we make quite a pair. Okay, so how does this work? Well, quickly here. Okay, so this is where we started. Okay, so if I close this up, which is what I did, close this up and then random stack, what are we looking at here? Okay, well, I'll go ahead and just write down what it is we're looking at. Here we go. So we have a Faro essentially spelled twice. I'll put a little bar there. We spelled it twice. This is like the top of the packet all the way to the bottom. Okay, so you can think of position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if you would like. Think about it. If I impose mentally this structure onto this list of cards, what is that going to do for me? Well, if I impose this structure on there, then that would mean that this would be technically a 1 there. This would also be a 1 right there. This would be a 1, and this would be a 1. If you think about the position of these letters, and of course this would be a 0, and a 0, and a 0 here, and a 0 here. Okay, so we're just kind of matching it up. So if in your mind's eye you impose this structure onto the packet of 8 cards, what that tells us is that because all of these shuffles that we used and the shuffles that we are showing in this series on the Bessie sequence preserve this structure type, or perhaps convert it to its inversion, where you just switch zeros for ones and ones for zeros, right? So if we impose that structure, what that means then is if in the end I were to put all of the, quote, ones in one pile, I would have a perfect set of each letter that's needed to spell the word Faro. I'd have an F and an O and an A and an R, leaving the same list of letters for the other half of the packet. So unlike some of the other videos where maybe we had to get the cards in a special order, right? We kind of had to get it in an order that agreed with the structure type. Here, because of where we're headed with the routine, it's already there, right? So we don't have to do anything, which is wonderful, actually. Okay, so from here, this little packet, if you perform any of the shuffles that I showed you there, or any of the ones in this series, because I didn't review all of them here, they will preserve this relationship that this letter here, this F, this O, and then this A and R, will always be in the same group of 4 relative to the labels and structure of this sequence. Okay, so in a practical sense, that means we can mix using all those shuffles, and then in my mind's eye, if I just separate the ones from the zeros, I will have 2 complete sets of each of those 4 letters with which we can spell the name of this new shuffle that we're showing you today, namely the Faro shuffle. So anyway, that's the beginning. So that's all I had. I had Faro spelt here, Faro spelt here in random stack. Okay, and so from that point, you can just immediately go into all of these amazing shuffles and packet mixing procedures that preserve this structure type. Okay, and then after I did a number of review shuffles that we've shown you in other videos, we went ahead and did the actual Faro shuffle. Okay, so this is in the right order. So maybe we can do a couple of LRs with random stacking. Maybe you want left on right. I guess we can do into 4 as well. And we could even do a leapfrog sort of thing. You want left on right, left on right. Okay, so you can do any of the ones shown in this video as well as other videos in this series. And then when you're done with that, boy, if that doesn't convince anyone on planet Earth that no one could know the exact ordering of these cards, I don't know what could convince them. And the bottom line is, we actually don't know. I mean, you would have to track the movement of all 8 cards throughout all of those shuffling routines to really know where the cards are at the end. That would be a superhuman undertaking, okay? So inconceivable that any one person could actually do that, okay? But we don't need to track the movement of anything. And it's because this structure right here is invariant or unaffected by all of those mixing procedures that I've been teaching you in this series. Okay, that's the key. The fundamental structure here is undisturbed by all of the mixing that we've been doing, okay? And then on top of that, the Faro shuffle itself is another shuffle that will preserve this sequence structure, okay? And so if you remember how the Faro shuffle works, this will be the top. You grab like this and then rotate, okay? Now it doesn't really change what's on top and what's on bottom, but this was the top half, this is the bottom, and now you perfectly interlace them however you would like. So you can do that by having this one go below first or above this one over here. And one of those is called an in, the other one an out. This is an in shuffle right there. Okay, now you can do as many of those as you want, in or out, variety works just fine. And then when you're done with that, our packet is still in this type of arrangement right here, okay? So if in your mind you want to just think, okay, the top one's 1. You know, we've done this before. I'll do it one more time here. Review and education's normally not a bad thing. So we're going to associate the top card with 1, the next 2 with zeros, and then the fourth one is a 1. This one's a 0, a couple of 1s and a 0. So for your mind's eye, when you split these up, if you want to put all the 1s in the first pile and the 0s and the remaining ones for the second pile, you'll finish in the same way that we did. You'll succeed. Okay, so I'm seeing just this simple sequence in my mind. So I'm thinking, okay, a 1, a 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay, and so that will separate those two. But because of this sequence structure, it's going to pull off one of each of the 4 letters. Okay, so let me just show you that. So we get F, R, A, O. Get one of each. Now notice that they're not necessarily, whoops, I'm going to flip that over. They're not necessarily in order. I mean, they're not spelling Faro. They're spelling the same thing here. There you go. But it's most likely the case that they will not spell F-A-R-O, right? That's, when it comes to what's being preserved here, that is quite honestly too much to ask for. Okay, because these shuffles, what they do, let me just explain this. What these shuffles do is the 1s get permuted. They switch places with each other in some random fashion, depending on which shuffle you used. The O's are switching places with each other, okay? And then there are times when you get a wholesale switching of places where all these the 4 1s switch places with the 4 zeros and the 4 zeros with the 4 1s. But as a group, the 1s will stick together and the zeros will stick together in the way described here, okay? So that will guarantee that the 2 sets you create at the end can be used to spell the name Faro, because each set will have one of each letter. Okay, so I think that does it for this video. I think that's probably all I needed to point out. So take a look at the other videos in the series devoted to Bessie sequences, as well as any of the other ones on the Hidden Structures channel. There are just scores, hundreds of videos of different kinds. So have fun with those, and thanks for watching, and hope you'll watch some of the future videos that are still to come. So thank you.